Welcome to Perpetua Inspires. Faith is not just believing in God's power, it's resting in His promises. It's saying, Lord, even when I don't understand, I still trust you. Faith is the foundation of our walk with God. Without faith, we cannot please Him because faith says, Lord, I believe you, even when I don't understand. Hebrews 11 verse 6. Many people give up right before their miracle because they stop believing. But faith means holding on even when your hands feel weak. Remember Abraham. He waited for years, yet he never lost hope. And when the time was right, God fulfilled His word. That's what faith does. It sustains you until the promise becomes reality. Abraham waited many years for the promise of Isaac, but his faith never wavered. The Bible says in Romans 4 verses 20 to 21, he did not waver through unbelief, being fully persuaded that God had power to do what He had promised. Think of Hannah. Her tears were many, her pain was deep, but she refused to stop believing. One day, her faith gave birth to Samuel. Proof that God never forgets the faithful. Faith sustained Hannah through years of pain. Her tears were not wasted. Her faith gave birth to a miracle child, Samuel, 1 Samuel 1 verse 27. When you have faith, you begin to rest even before the answer arrives. You stop fighting in fear and start trusting in peace. Faith is not about controlling outcomes, it's about trusting God with the unknown. It's saying, even if I don't see it now, I know my Redeemer lives. When the woman with the issue of blood reached out to touch Jesus' garment, she wasn't moved by logic, she was moved by faith. And that faith made her whole. Faith whispers to your heart, keep going. Even when the world says stop, faith says, one more step, God is still working. The woman with the issue of blood said, if I can just touch the hem of His garment, I will be made whole. Mark 5 verse 28. Her faith healed her before her body even felt it. Faith does not remove storms, but it gives you the strength to walk through them. Even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. Psalm 23 verse 4. Sometimes, God delays not to deny, but to develop your faith. Delays are divine classrooms where faith matures and grows deeper roots. Peter walked on water, not because he was special, but because he believed Jesus could hold him up. When your eyes are on Jesus, even the impossible becomes your testimony. Faith doesn't mean storms won't come. It means when they do, you'll still stand because your anchor is in God. When you have faith, mountains turn into stepping stones. Closed doors turn into redirections. What looked like a setback becomes a setup for your next blessing. I've seen people who lost everything, and yet they smiled because they knew God was still with them. That's the power of faith. When the Israelites stood before the Red Sea, it was faith that made Moses lift his rod, and God parted the sea before their eyes. Exodus 14 verse 21. We walk by faith, not by sight. 2 Corinthians 5 verse 7. This means believing God's plan even when the path looks uncertain. Faith gives you peace in chaos. It reminds you that God's timing is not late, it's perfect. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46 verse 10. When you have faith, setbacks turn into setups. Joseph was thrown into a pit, sold into slavery, yet faith raised him to a palace. Genesis 50 verse 20. Faith doesn't make things easy, but it makes them possible. With God all things are possible. Matthew 19 verse 26. When fear tries to silence your heart, remember, the Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom shall I fear? Psalm 27 verse 1. Faith brings peace. It removes fear. It helps you sleep at night knowing that God has already gone ahead of you. The world may say, "You're finished," but faith declares, "My story has just begun." When you trust God completely, you stop forcing things. You start flowing in His will, and suddenly, things fall into place naturally. Faith doesn't make things easy, it makes them possible. The God who parted the Red Sea is the same God who can part your struggles. Don't let fear silence your faith. When you feel weak, say like David, "The Lord is my strength and my shield, my heart trusts in Him." Every act of faith invites God's presence to move. And when God moves, the impossible bows. So today, choose faith. Speak faith. Live faith. Like Jesus said, "If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, nothing will be impossible for you." Matthew 17 verse 20. No matter what you're facing, choose faith. Speak faith. And watch how God turns your waiting into winning, your pain into purpose, and your tears into triumph. Remember, beloved, faith doesn't mean the road will be easy, but it guarantees that God will walk it with you. Keep your faith alive because when you trust God, miracles become your reality. Faith doesn't mean life will be perfect, but it means you'll never walk alone. When you believe, heaven responds. Keep your faith alive, and God will turn your waiting into winning, your tests into testimonies,